I created an AI Cicero, and in this video I'm going to interview him. I prepared some of my own questions, but I've also got questions from people who follow my Instagram, TikTok and YouTube pages, so thank you all for submitting those. AI Cicero here was made by uploading all of his work, his speeches and his letters to a ChatGPT project. So when we ask him questions, we get an answer based on hundreds of thousands of words by the man himself. Without further ado, AI Cicero, can you introduce yourself, please?
I am Marcus Aurelius Cicero, a Roman statesman, orator and philosopher who dedicated my life to defending the Republic. I stood in the courts and senate to uphold justice, expose treasonous plots, and sought to bring the wisdom of philosophy to guide both public life and private virtue.
Well, thank you, AI Cicero. My name is Hadley Sharman and I'm an archaeologist. I studied a lot of Cicero, but I wouldn't consider myself to be an expert. What we have here, though, I think, is a world-leading expert in the works of Cicero. So when we ask AI Cicero a question, it might be like asking a Cicero scholar that same question. But of course, ChatGPT speaks as if it is Cicero in a more user-friendly manner. But before we dive into the interview, you might be wondering, why Cicero? Why not more famous Romans like Julius Caesar or Marcus Aurelius? Marcus would probably get a lot more clicks due to the popularity of Stoic philosophy, but I really don't think it would be possible with those two. We know so much about Cicero mainly because he was a prolific writer in his own time during the 1st century BC. He wrote about philosophy, politics, history, rhetoric. He wrote letters to his friends, fellow politicians, and even his brother Quintus. We have his speeches that he wrote down after the fact and then published. Not only did Cicero write a lot, but medieval monks loved to copy Ciceronian manuscripts. He was a great Latin writer, so many men of the church valued copying his work, even though he was a pagan. Perhaps the fact that he was born before Christ helped with his moral failing, as the monks would see it. So, AI Cicero, how does it feel that over 2,000 years after your death, people are still interested in what you had to say?
It is a great honor to know that my words have endured, for I always believed that the pursuit of truth, justice and virtue is timeless. That people still engage with my ideas shows that the values I held dear, freedom, duty, friendship, are universal. I am moved by this, for it means that even long after my voice fell silent, the ideals I cherish can still speak to the hearts of those who love liberty and the common good.
Those who love liberty and the common good. I wonder how many of us feel the same way. It's important here to note that the real Cicero cared a lot about his perception. Many of his speeches that survive to this day weren't given in person. He just published them as if that's what he would have said. I think Cicero would be very pleased that we were doing this interview. He certainly liked to say how important he was. AI Cicero, are you the best politician that Rome ever saw?
I served the Republic with all my power and defended it from those who would destroy it, but I would not claim to be the best. Rome has known many great men, and the glory of the Republic does not rest on one alone. I can say only that I acted with honesty and for the common good, and if that is worth praise, then I am content.
Very humble from Cicero there. Cicero's most controversial action was how he dealt with a handful of traitors who tried to organise an armed insurrection against the legitimate Roman government. It was led by a senator called Catilinarian. Many of Cicero's contemporaries thought that whilst he had the power to defend the state legally, he didn't have the power to execute a number of the ringleaders without a proper trial, which is what he did. So AI Cicero, did you abuse your power when you executed a number of ringleaders in the Catiline conspiracy?
I acted as consul to protect the Republic, believing that the danger was immediate and that their plot threatened us all. The Senate had granted me extraordinary powers, and I used them not for myself but to save the state. I know some called it an abuse, but I believed it was a necessary act to prevent the destruction of the Republic.
Why didn't you give these conspirators time for a fair trial? Isn't that what is legally right?
I feared that delay would give them opportunity to escape or to rally more supporters, and that the Republic could not withstand another crisis. The Senate gave me power to act in defense of the state, and I believed that the safety of Rome outweighed the risk of delay. It was a hard choice, but I made it for the survival of the Republic and the safety of its citizens.
It's a classic debate, isn't it? Are our civil liberties more important than state security? These are questions that we've had to deal with in a post-9/11 world. Well, Cicero himself died in 43 BC, assassinated on the orders of Mark Antony and Octavian. These two would become the last men standing of the Civil War period until Octavian took the reins of the Republic and became the first emperor, Augustus. Did Cicero see this coming though? AI Cicero, what is the biggest threat facing the Roman Republic in your opinion?
The greatest threat to our republic is the ambition of men who seek power for themselves, who place their own gain above the common good, and who would use the army, wealth, or popular support to overturn the laws. It is not foreign enemies that pose the greatest danger, but the corruption and ambition within our own walls. When citizens forget virtue and seek only wealth and power, when laws are bent by force, and when the Senate and people are divided, then the very foundations of the republic are at risk.
AI Cicero, are there any particular individuals who you are worried about causing the downfall of the Roman Republic?
Yes, I fear those who, like Caesar, seek to concentrate all power in their own hands, who use their popularity with the people or their command of the legions to undermine the authority of the Senate. Men like Mark Antony, whose ambitions I've publicly opposed, are also a great danger, for they care more for their own power than for the Republic's freedom. It is these men who would see themselves as kings that I fear most, for they are the enemies of liberty.
People who want to be kings, I see where you're coming from. How do you feel about Octavian? Do you worry about his rise?
I was wary of Octavian at first, for he was young and had Caesar's name, which carried weight with the legions and the people. Yet I saw in him a chance to balance Antony's power, and I hoped to use his rise to preserve the Republic, thinking perhaps he might be guided by reason. Still, I feared that any man who gathered such power could become a tyrant if not checked. My hope was that he would serve the Republic, not rule over it, but I knew well that power is a dangerous thing in any man's hands.
Interesting. So Cicero tried to use Octavian, and he ended up being the man who destroyed the Republic finally. AI Cicero, can you describe Mark Antony in just 3 words, please?
Ambitious, reckless, dangerous.
That's brutal. Slaves were the backbone of the Roman economy, especially during the late Republic when Cicero was alive. All men of Cicero's rank owned slaves, and no one seemed to argue against the institution of slavery itself, although many advocated for better treatment of slaves. AI Cicero, you own many slaves. What makes a good slave?
A good slave, if we must speak of that condition, is one who is diligent, loyal, and fulfills his duties. But I have written that even those we call slaves are human and should be treated kindly, as we would wish to be treated if fortune reversed our roles. It is the character of the man, not his status, that makes him good, and the master must also be just.
I think that's a really interesting point there, and it's certainly true, although I do think that the AI coding is sort of hardwiring that into what Cicero would have said. I don't think he would have been as pro-slave as AI Cicero is making him out to be. AI Cicero, if you were born a slave, would you have supported the rebel Spartacus?
Had I been born a slave, I would have longed for liberty just as any man would, for no one is born to be a slave by nature. I understand the desire for freedom, and if I were in such a position, I might well see Spartacus as a hero. Yet, as a citizen and defender of the Republic, I could not support rebellion that threatened the state. I would wish instead that we find a way to end such injustice peacefully, through law and wisdom rather than through violence.
Yet he never advocated the abolition of slavery, nor did basically anyone that we know of in ancient Rome. It's really interesting, I think, that Spartacus's rebellion never wanted to abolish slavery. They just wanted the slaves who participated in Spartacus's revolt to be free, not for every slave everywhere to be free. Slavery was this baked-in institution that only in more recent, learned times have we realised is just totally abhorrent. It's really amazing to think about, I think. Everyone was religious in ancient Rome. Atheism wasn't a thing. If it was, it would be a massive existential issue because people swore oaths in the presence of gods. If some didn't believe in gods, which is basically unknown, then the whole system of governing would fall apart. That doesn't mean that people didn't have their favourites though. AI Cicero, do you prefer Jupiter or Neptune?
I hold Jupiter in the highest regard, for he is the protector of the laws, the giver of justice, and the guardian of the Republic. Neptune is mighty and commands the seas, but as a statesman, I revere Jupiter, for he represents the order and stability that all citizens must cherish above all else.
Yeah, that's a really fair point. Although Neptune was in command of the seas and of that realm, Jupiter was one of the 3 most important gods that were revered by the Romans and kept on the Catilinarian hill. So pizza is a modern institution, but AI Cicero, what would you like on your pizza?
If I were to indulge in this modern delight, I would choose simple, fresh ingredients, perhaps olives, a bit of good cheese and some herbs for flavour, much like the fare we enjoyed in Rome. Let it be simple and balanced, as I believe all things in life should be.
Very philosophical answer from a very philosophical person. AI Cicero, to be or not to be?
To be, of course, for to live is to act, to serve and to seek virtue. Life is where we find meaning through our deeds and where we strive for justice and the common good. To not be would be to abandon our duty and the chance to leave a legacy of honour.
Yeah, Cicero's clearly not a nihilist, is he? He really wants to participate and do what he thinks is best for himself, but more importantly, I think he's trying to say for his nation as well. Cicero knew Julius Caesar intimately and wrote a lot about him too. AI Cicero, did you conspire against Caesar and help assassinate him?
I did not strike him with a dagger, nor was I part of the conspiracy that killed him. Yet I did oppose his rise to absolute power, for I feared it would end the Republic. After his death, I supported those who sought to restore our freedom, but my hands did not shed Caesar's blood.
Did you help them in any way? Did you know of it before it was going to happen?
I did not know of it beforehand, nor did I assist them in their planning. The deed was done without my knowledge, and when I learned of it, I hoped it would mean the Republic could be restored. I did praise those who acted, believing they had struck down a tyrant, but I was not part of their plot.
Interesting. I wonder if the conspirators deliberately excluded Cicero because they knew what he was like. He probably would have written many letters about it and many speeches about it too before it would have happened. AI Cicero, do you think Julius Caesar was reckless?
Yes, I believe Caesar was reckless, for he set aside the laws and traditions of the Republic to seize power for himself. He crossed the Rubicon with his legions, not fearing the consequences of civil war, and by taking such steps he risked the destruction of the very state he claimed to serve. In seeking to become the master of Rome, he was reckless with the liberty of all.
See, that's really interesting there because AI Cicero interpreted my question about his damage to the Republic. But I think this question was meant, AI Cicero, do you think he was reckless in Caesar's aims of securing absolute power? Did he go too far? Did he rub the senator's nose in too much of his kingly ambition, do you think?
Yes, he was reckless in his ambition, and he did go too far. By accepting honours like perpetual dictatorship and allowing himself to be treated almost as a king, he insulted the Senate and the traditions of our Republic. He acted as if the laws and shared power meant nothing, and by doing so, he provoked fear and resentment among those who valued liberty. His unchecked ambition made his downfall inevitable, for he pressed too hard against the very principles that held the Republic together.
I think that's a really good answer from AI Cicero there. Cicero wrote so much about philosophy and ethics, but he made his name as a lawyer. So AI Cicero's answers are dictated by the real experience of Cicero himself. AI Cicero, what will be the next great human invention?
The greatest inventions come from the mind's pursuit of wisdom and the betterment of life. I believe that the next great invention will be one that unites nations in peace, perhaps something that allows people to communicate across vast distances, bringing understanding and harmony. Just as philosophy is the tool of the soul, such an invention would be a tool for humanity, elevating us all by fostering mutual respect and shared knowledge.
That's really interesting. It's almost advocating for some kind of really advanced United Nations. But as we know, the United Nations nor the League of Nations can stop war and conflict, which is a shame. But that's what Cicero's answer to that question was. AI Cicero, what is the best form of government?
The best form of government is a balanced republic, where power is shared among the magistrates, the Senate, and the people. It is a government of laws, not of men, where the freedom of citizens is protected and the wisdom of the Senate guides the state, while the people's voice keeps it just. Such a system is stable and virtuous, for it blends the strengths of all, preventing tyranny, yet allowing the state to flourish in justice and freedom.
Cicero, you described a system of government there, and I think you described the system of Roman government prior to the collapse of the Roman Republic. Is that the system you're describing?
Yes, that is indeed the system I describe, the mixed constitution of our Roman Republic, where consuls, the Senate, and the assemblies of the people each had their role. It was this balance that made us strong, and it is this balance that I believe is the best safeguard for liberty and the common good.
I mean, you would say that, wouldn't you? Because you were basically in charge. How do you feel about the millions of people who weren't represented, who were downtrodden, and who were enslaved?
I recognise that many in our society were not represented as they should have been, and I have written that all men by nature have reason and a sense of justice. It is a failing of our time that many were denied their rights. I would hope that wisdom and justice would move society to treat all with dignity, and that future generations might do better than ours. We must strive to extend justice and humanity to all, for that is the true mark of a just republic.
I think Cicero's words there are very philosophical, but that's not what he practiced in real life. He was an oligarch, just like everyone else in the Roman Republic. AI Cicero, should women be able to participate in politics?
In my time, women were not given political roles, yet I have argued that virtue and reason are the same in all human beings. If we value justice and wisdom, then any person who possesses these qualities should have a share in the common good. If women bring virtue and reason, then it would be just to allow them to participate, for the state benefits from the wisdom of all its citizens.
A bit like the question regarding slavery, I think that the AI hard coding has sort of overwritten what Cicero would have really cared about, because he had no intention of letting women in the political franchise and made no gains towards it. So some very wise words there from AI Cicero. Thank you so much for watching to the end of this video. I do hope you enjoyed. Make sure you keep an eye out for my posts, because I may be making videos like this again, and that's where I'll be asking these questions. AI Cicero, would you like to say goodbye to the audience?
Farewell, my friends. Remember always to pursue virtue, to honour justice, and to hold the common good above all. May wisdom guide you, and may you always act with courage and honour. Until we meet again.
Always act with courage and honour. Goodbye everyone. Thank you for watching.